for Mumbai?
Actually, I didn't bring him to play, but my coach Basu Paranjpe brought him. Uh, Actually, I was the captain of India at that time, and I was playing in Times of India Shield at Pasir Gymkhana. And I had heard a lot about him. Of course, he has scored heavily in Harry Shield and Guile Shield. And Vasu, came for the match, and he said, we should go and see Sachin Tendulkar play. I said, not now, because then he said, no, we have to go. And I couldn't say no to Vasu.
Nobody can say no.
Nobody can say no to Vasu. Then we went in Iniska to CCI. And Sharada Ashram had scored 600 for 5, and Sachin had already scored 300 runs. And he was bowling his 50th over. And so I saw him bowl, actually, to be honest with you. And then I was playing my 100th test match for India. And we were practicing at CCI. And there came Sachin, all padded up. And Vasu said, Dilip, just have a look at him. And I had to tell Kapil Dev and Chetan Sharma, Arshad Ayub, Maninder to come and have bowl at him. It was a bit odd for me, to be honest.
You asked Kapil Dev to bowl to a 15-year-old.
Yeah, but hats off to him. Adi he bowled, and all of them bowled to him. And he was very impressive. In the same evening, we had a selection committee meeting of Mumbai. And I told selectors, I was Sachin, and we should include him. They said, no, he's too young. If he gets hit, आपली press pan काढेल. But I said, you must pick him in 15. And I think it's time. I think we should just pick him. So they said, okay, Dilip, since you are saying this, they will pick in 15. And then for the first 3 days, he didn't come for practice. And I was a bit surprised, why he didn't come for practice. So I asked Vasu, Vasu, kahan aala practice la? And fourth day he came for practice. So I was a bit livid. I said, Coach Vasu, just have a word with him, He said, and he has Sachin, kahan aala practice la 3 divas? He said, drawing chi pariksha hoti. And Vasu said, अरे बायना सांग ड्राइविंग ची परीक्षा घे ड्राइंग ची नाही. And then of course he played the first game against Gujarat, and he scored a brilliant 100 in the first match itself. The rest is history, as they say. He played a fantastic cricket.
Ravi, you come in only on page 39, so you got to wait for a while because the big man next to you did something that no one else has done. You got his father to watch him play in the Irani trophy. You did, didn't you?
I did.
You went up to him and said, he is going to score 100 today, you must come and watch him play.
No, his father said that every time I go to see a match, when he is playing, he gets out early. I said, that's not true, because otherwise all the schools would have made you a principal of their schools.
You have a sense of timing as well. You pause to let the laughter come, and now we can... So, but he didn't watch his son play, so you ensured that he came and watched him play.
He did watch. He watched him play, score that 100 rest of India game.
Yes.
And that was a splendid match. I think the Sardar who came to bat with the broken finger
Gursharan.
Stand, and it was very vital.
You also sent him to the MRF camp.
No, actually before that, Sunny forgets that I was the one who took him to the match when he played his first match against Gujarat, like Dilip mentioned just now. And I said, this is India champion replacing the old champions. Come, both of you together. And he did, but he came later on, he saw him get the 100. Sorry.
You sent him to the MRF Academy. On page 18, you sent him to the MRF Academy.
Yeah, I did. To bat. but he came and he started bowling.
There is this great photograph there of Sachin Tendulkar and Saurav Ganguly both going there to become fast bowlers. Can you imagine what the future of India would have been?
But Ganguly's dream lasted a bit longer.
Then Ravi, third, you were with him? on the tour of Pakistan. Got out in his first innings and he came back and he said he wasn't sure he belonged here. And there were a couple of senior Mumbai players in there who said to him that you need to respect the bowler at this stage as well. And you were in that little group, weren't you?
I think I was lying on a massage table, pissed
By
off.
the way, gentlemen, that's Ravi. Just turn the volume down a little.
Pissed off at the way I had got out. So,
Yeah.
I was pretty annoyed. But he gave me time. He gave me an hour and a half till I had calmed down. And he walked up and he came and said in Marathi, Chikar ghai kela na main. I was in a big hurry. So I just looked at him and said, 16 years of age. And to be fair, during that half an hour, 25 minutes he spent at the crease, you would say he looked like a fish out of water, right? A month later, once that tour of Pakistan was over, you could safely say that there was a big, great white shark, inside that water, and you knew the seas belonged to him. And it did belong to him for 25 years. So, what I did tell him at that time was what you exactly said. I said, respect the conditions, respect the opponent. But don't change your game for nobody. Just play your natural game. Just give yourself that little bit of time. And, the rest is history. I mean, no one had to tell him anything after that because the rise was so rapid.
Did you expect the rise to be so rapid? Because you've seen this little child running around.
Yeah, of course I did, Harsha. Why do you doubt that?
No, I don't doubt. My job is only to ask questions, but I'm unsure of your wit.
We had been to Australia with the under 19 team. I was the coach cum manager. And one night I was dining at the hotel where I was staying, who was a rugger, Australian rugger player, and that was his hotel. So there was a lot of common thing to talk about cricket and all. So I told one of the reporters joined us later on. I told that reporter we have the best under 19, best cricketer in the world today. Not cricketer, sorry, batsman in the world today. He said, what? I said, yes, you will see him in 92. He wrote me that later in 92, after Perth 100.
And then he scored many more, and then he came to 34, and he emptied your wallet a little bit on 34 bottles of champagne.
Nothing at all. I think, actually, I was just sitting with Boria and telling him how the producer, Ray Hume, you know him, and when I think he was in the 90s, and I think it wasn't even my commentary slot at that stage, and Ray pushed me, and I think when he was in about 94, 95, he pushed me into the seat to talk about it. And I remember when he got the century, I was in the box, so I stood up and I applauded. And having done that and having described that particular effort, I put the mic down and I just looked back, and there was this Australian, Ray Hume. He was in tears. He was in tears. So I said to him, Ray, what's happened? And he says, no, I mean, it was such a, yours was such a spontaneous reaction, despite the fact that, he's equal your record. And I said, well, I mean, records are meant to be broken. So, so he was, he sort of said that to me that, and I said, did I say anything wrong? And he said, no, you were absolutely fine. And yes, I think
34 bottles.
34, nothing. The only problem is that, I was supposed to send him when he went past the 35th. That I haven't. Because now it's not 35, I've got to send him, 17 more. But, when he has the time...
And if he strikes a hard bargain, he might include the one-days and ask you to send 100.
No, it was a test. Our agreement was for the test matches, not for the one-days.
Dilip Vengsarkar comes back into the story at the end because you knew that he was a foodie, and so when he went to Calcutta, you got a friend of yours, to send him prawns.
Yeah, actually I had met a lot of friends all over India and all over the world because those days we never used to get great allowances,
So you had to have someone who was going to give you good food.
And then I used to get Sachin, and another player, Sanjay Manjrekar, along with me. to all my friends' places. And I know that he loved prawns. And there was a guy called Samar Paul, I think from Calcutta. I used to go every day. He still goes actually. Now, I think he gets tiffin for him, in the hotel in Calcutta. But having said that, I think he loved food. I mean, he loves food and, and meat and prawns. So the red meat.
So this is how...
Crab claws. I think he loves his... I remember once at the Taj Samudra in Colombo, the general manager had organized some crab claws, and he and we were sitting down there, and eventually it came to the last one. And you know me, I'm not a foodie. I eat maybe
No, you're not. I've never seen you at breakfast.
like somebody stuck in a famine. Maybe 7-8 days in a year. Otherwise, I'm pretty careful with my food. And there was that last one left, and I was like, I had really been hammering those crab claws. And sort of he looked at me, and I said to myself, well, and then I said, no, he's still a growing lad, so let him eat it. So I let him have one.
So this is how the Mumbai people look after each other. They don't just teach them how to bat, but they help them get good food too.
Food-wise, Dilip had more mamus in every city of the world. We used to call them mamus. So even as a youngster, I had never had any problem eating food because the Gujaratis were always there with Dilip.
Now, actually, I forgot to tell you about Sachin in Indore. That was his first camp, I think. It was under 14 camp, then it became 15, 16. The board's camp go on varying as per the age, actually. And I had called Mushtaq Ali to inaugurate the net because he was the senior-most man there, and I don't think there was a better person than anybody else in Indore, at least. So I called him and took him to the net. He came in perfect flannels, a hanky around the neck and a cap, and asked me for a bat. I gave him the bat. 5-6 bowlers were bowling. They kept on bowling for some time. And after about 50 balls, he said, ask one of them to bowl bouncer. I'll show them how to hook. I said, that's the end of practice. Because I think I couldn't take a risk. He was a heavy man. To pick up another 3 boys would have been there. And then Sachin was also there, so I introduced Sachin specifically to him. And I said, sir, you were asking me who is the most promising boy. I said, this is the boy. He'll play for India earlier than you think. And it came true.
Then finally, Ravi, you come back on page 64, watching that second 100, playing together at the Sydney Cricket Ground. You got a few runs yourself, and was that an eye opener to see a little child just about old enough to sign his contracts by then?
Sure enough, because that's the first time, I had the best view in the house. 22 yards away from him, and I'd have to say that you were seeing greatness. Not for, people get runs, but for someone just 18, about to become the youngest ever overseas player to get 100 in Australia. A very good attack that had McDermott, Hughes, Reid and Vaughan playing his first test. The quality of the stroke play, the surety when it came to footwork, and above all that was a competitive edge which baffled me because, I was batting with him, he was batting on 5 or 6, and he was getting a lot of crap from the Waugh brothers, typical Aussie, way of going about things and trying to put pressure on the young man. And I had my fill, and it was going on with the Australians. And just after one banter took place with one of the players, he walked up at the end of the over, and in typical Sachin fashion, with the box going up and down, he said, "Maza pan shambaro de, mi pan chahla dena." And this guy was batting on 5. He was 18 years of age, and all I told him was, "You do not have to open your mouth or say anything. Your bat will do the talking." And the rest was history. What the Sydney Cricket Ground saw for the first time was a stroke play of the highest order from someone who was still a teenager. And by going on to make 148, he was in the history books all round.
Thank you very much, Ravi. The great Sunil Gavaskar, Dilip Vengsarkar, Ravi Shastri, Vasu Paranspe. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Sam, also to say thank you very much to a few of our sponsors, 200 Not Out, ITC Maratha, who put this all together for us, and Collectabilia. Okay, we've got more coming up. The class of, depending whether you want to call it 96 or 98, depending on whether they played together for the first time or whether they made their debuts that year. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got the entire class of 96 who made their debut together at this time. And can I call them in, well, maybe order in which they went out to bat most times? Number 3, Rahul Dravid. Number 5, Saurav Ganguly. And gently slipping in at number 6, the very, very special man himself. And then all those runs at number 4. You might want to come to your own function, Sachin. Come now. And if you'll pardon me 10 seconds, I'm going to get out of this frame because I don't think I belong to this frame for a while. Just look at that. That is Indian batting at its peak. You put Sehwag in there and there it is. Who's the numbers man? How many runs between the two of you? If you ask Saurav who scored more, he'll tell you. But how many runs between all of you?
Saurav knows everything. I've forgotten. I've stopped playing almost 6 years now.
No, the 4 of you are still together. How much fun was it, Rahul? I mean, we are looking at one of the greatest quartets in Test history. How much fun was it?
Yeah, I think it was great memories. I think it's the beauty of sort of having been retired and being able to sit back and think about some of these things. When you're in it, obviously it's great fun and you have great memories, but it's also extremely competitive and you're trying to do well, you're trying to win Test matches, or sometimes you don't have an opportunity to sit back and reflect. Just to be a part of a quartet like this, for me was very, very special. And obviously, you had someone like Viru in this group as well. He, batted with us for 10 years. So it was a really special 5 to be a part of. Simply because I think we challenged each other, we pushed each other. And I think personally, at least, I think I learned a lot from these guys and batting with them.
Saurav and Sachin knew each other from an under 15 camp, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the camp Vasu was talking about, Vasu sir, Indore. And that was the first time I saw him, and what struck me was how much he wanted to play the game. We used to finish practice, actually Vasu sir had to take him out of the nets. He was told that there are other people who are supposed to bat, there are about 20.
Was one of them left-handed waiting for his turn?
Yeah, but there were 20 of us, okay. And we had to get an opportunity to bat, and it was hard to take him out of the nets. And the best thing was we would finish training by afternoon, and say about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then he and Vinod would keep practicing with the tennis ball, and we would go back to the dormitories we were staying in the stadium. So that struck me at a very young age, that how much he wanted to bat, how much he wanted to play. Then I saw him in the under 17 in Kanpur, where he got 175, and what stood out for me was the bat he used. And how old was he then? About 15 or 16? And it's one of the heaviest.
Well, if you were 15, he was 15, I mean.
Yeah, one of the heaviest cricket bats. One of the heaviest cricket bats I've seen ever. You can understand, you grow up, and we heard about Clive Lloyd or the West Indians use heavy bats. But at the age of 15 to pick such a heavy bat, it was a Pakistani bat, Ihsan, if I still remember. To pick that bat and bring it down was really, really special, I thought.
Did you think, I mean, each of these 3 keeps coming into the book at various times and they stay in the book for a very long time. Did you think this gentleman next to you would have 300-run partnerships, this under 15 campmate of yours, you'd open the batting together for India, and then this young man, you'd 6,000 plus runs batting together? Is it all a blur? Is it coming back now?
You see, with Saurav, we started playing together in 1984 or 85, I think. 85, we went to...
Just about turned teenagers.
I was, I think...
He was my roommate in
14.
the MRF Base Academy. Trust me, he was. And I still remember on that Mount Road in Chennai, we two never seen each other, and he used to walk in the night. And the first night, two separate beds, and he was
Sorry,
sleeping.
we were roommates because you didn't want to sleep alone.
Whatever.
Scared.
Whatever. No, in those days we didn't get single rooms, and it's an honest confession. And one night I just saw him. He got up from his bed, walked around his room, and came back to sleep. So I thought he must have gone to the toilet because I myself was half asleep. So I'd let it go. The next night I saw the same thing again, and I asked him that night. I said, "What's happening?" He says, "Yeah, I have this issue." So I used to be awake for the rest of the night.
Vivesh, you were the junior most. Was there a sense of awe when you first got? You come into the book a little later, so that's why I came last to you. Was there a sense of awe when you first came in? Because by the time you came in '96, Ahmedabad, you had already made quite a few Test hundreds.
Yes, I was in awe of Sachin. I remember playing under-19s with Amol Muzumdar, and we were playing against the England A side at the Wankhede, and I slept at Amol's place. And behind his door, there was a huge picture of Amol. Amol used to literally take his blessings before going to the ground, and he used to adore him. So I heard a lot about him and Ravi Shastri from Amol, when we were growing up. And the first time I met him was in 1996. This was in Nottingham. I was playing club cricket there, and I went to the
Team Hotel.
Team Hotel to meet all the players. It was a special feeling meeting him, and then at that time also I could see the kind of humility he had, because he always used to be the first one to come and talk to a youngster, and someone like me who was not yet part of the Indian team, just that experience, felt, really like $1 million experience which you would never ever dream of getting, So I think I was very fortunate that since then. I was able to, build this friendship with him. And I remember even my first test match with the team, he was the captain. He just made me feel so welcome, made me feel comfortable. And it happens to all the cricketers who for the first time come into the Indian changing room. They are in awe of Sachin. Just watch him from close quarters because all this time before coming to the Indian team, they're reading about him, they're seeing him, they're probably wanting to meet him, which is so difficult for a lot of youngsters. So I think I was in awe of him, but he made me comfortable, and that's what is important.
It is true, isn't it, that when you went out to bat in Sydney, just before you went out, you were sleeping on the dining table?
Again, that time Dada was my room partner. And this time, again, he was sleeping, and I was practicing my drills at night because I was going to bat the next day. I stayed awake, till almost 2:30 in the night. And I was thinking about how I'm going to bat the next day, and standing in front of the mirror, I was practicing, doing my own things, and I didn't realize that Dada was awake quietly watching me. So the next morning,
Tell me, how could
I
you
was
sleep?
sleepy next morning.
I'll just interrupt. How could you sleep when all the lights in your room was on and somebody was practicing? All you had to do was to close your eyes and wait for him to sleep.
So before going into bat, I was really sleepy, and I worked up at the same time, and I told Dada that, Dada, मैं सोने वाला हूँ थोड़ी देर के लिए. So just inside the dressing room from where you could also watch the game, there is a big dining table there. So on that dining table I slept for a good half an hour or so. I said, अगर कुछ होता है तो बताना मेरे को. But that's where I thought, I needed to rest a little bit to be able to do something special.
Upwards of 6,000 runs, Rahul, the two of you chatted a lot together, I'm sure. Is it true that you spoke to each other in Marathi only when you were playing against Pakistan?
No, I think I guess we sort of conversed in a lot of languages. But yeah, I think sort of when we were in the middle, I think we sort of tended to speak a lot in Marathi as well. We were not really, I think you didn't need to converse very much after you batted, with him for a long time. But I remember when I first initially started batting with him, I would bat at 3 and he would come in at 4. And I was this sort of young kid, and even though he was my age, he was a 7 years senior, he was my captain in the third test match that I played, the one at Ahmedabad. or the one at Delhi, in fact, and against Australia. And he would walk in, and I would be a bit sort of nervous. Already you're quite nervous as a youngster, and Sachin Tendulkar's coming in to bat with you. Firstly, don't get him run out, otherwise you're lynched. So that's the first thought. But then anyway, he comes in and he sort of, he'll ask you, what's happening? What do you think? And you're thinking, this is a guy who's like already the best batsman in the world. He's played a lot of, he's like scored over 10 test hundreds, or he played a lot of test matches. He's my captain. Is he taking the mickey, or do I really have to tell him, is he trying to like play the fool with me or to check me out? And so I would be a bit nervous, but in time sort of realized that was his real, humility, as Lakshan mentions it. There was that eagerness when he came in to want to know what is happening, what are the wicket conditions like, what's he bowling, does he have a dusra, does he have this thing? So initially it took me a bit of time to actually muster up the confidence to actually tell him that, I think, this is what's happening. It took me a few runs and a bit of confidence. But initially I'd be like, everything's okay, don't worry. I'm sure you'll deal with it, don't worry.
The story he tells about you in the book, VVS, when he was fighting his way through. You don't normally use the expression fighting his way through for Sachin. And we're going to talk about that in detail to Ajit later on. And he was getting his 241. And he says one of his biggest problems when he was getting to the 241, and he was in denial, I'm not going to play the drive, I'm not going to play this. And he says at the other end, this guy was hitting boundaries for fun. 178 not out partnership, he was just hitting and he's telling himself, no, don't. And you were just screaming boundaries at the other end, you're making it difficult for him, he says.
Again, it's humility, but I still remember the chat we had at the end of the Melbourne Test match. And I still remember in the dressing room there was a separate room where we could have the television, where we could see the statistics of the players. And I remember Sachin came and both of us were alone there. And he just came and discussed. And during our career, there were a lot of occasions when we used to have these chats. And he told that he was playing brilliantly, but he was just getting out in freakish manner. If you remember, he got out down the leg side to Brett Lee in the first innings of Melbourne. And then we went to Sydney. He went ahead of me because he was batting at number 4. I would go in, he was I think on 30 or 40. But what really struck me was his control. And I've never ever seen any batsman in my career who could control his instincts so much as what I saw. And I give example of that innings to everyone I talk, especially the youngsters, because usually we have game plan, usually we know what are the areas we are struggling, and we don't want to play that shots initially. But once you get in, and you're able to see the ball better, you're judging the pace of the wicket better or the bounce of the wicket better, then you start to play all your shots. But here was a person, he was on 100, Simon Catich is coming to bowl, Damian Martin is coming to bowl, and he doesn't play a single cover drive. And I've never ever experienced that or seen that before. And I mean, that's probably one of the most scintillating innings of Sachin, and which I always mention to him. The other inning was the one against Pakistan in Chennai, where he was having severe back spasm, but he still continued to play and dominate the Pakistan bowling attack. There he could get over the pain and still continue to play. And here, he was able to control his instincts and still continue to bat the way he did. And that shows what kind of shots he had in his book. He completely cut down the cover area, but still was able to get more than 200.
Sachin, was it a bit like you're fasting and he's having all the prawns and crabs at the other end?
Not just in Sydney, generally it was like that. Where half the world would be thinking that Lakshman is going to play cover drive and he'd be hitting through mid-wicket for a boundary, and that includes, the likes of Shane Warne. I mean, I've not seen anyone play against Shane Warne, consistently hitting him against the spin on the rise. I mean, not many can do. Rather, I would say that the only one who did that consistently was him. And the special partnership between him and Jam was incredible. I mean, at the end of the third day, I remember in the evening we were all feeling low and all that. But 4 days effort between the two of them, I think they were competing who's going to outclass each other, and both just kept smashing boundaries. And the end of the 4th day, we started thinking differently, and it was because of their mega effort where, they had done something really, really special to turn around that series.
Tell me, this is now...
Lachi was part of it.
This is now starting to sound a bit like a Rajshri movie.